Hey, this is SJ. I was on this YouTuber by the name of Tom Powell. Tom Powell, if I'm saying his name right, YouTuber. He talks a lot about politics. He's got some good content. You know, a white gentleman by the name of Tom Powell. He's got some good content. He does an excellent job of doing his. Most of his videos are 5 minutes and less. He has some over 5 minutes. He does an excellent job at making several points in less than 5 minutes. I love that. I love that. That's very impressive to me. Being a content creator, I pay attention to stuff like that. It's very impressive to me. I study other YouTubers and see what I can do to get myself together. But his content is pretty good. Um, but he had this one video he talks about various different things, talks about politics a lot, but he talks about other things too. And he had this one video talking about believing in God. I guess he's an atheist. Um, I forget what it was titled, but it said something about your God or something. And he was talking about questioning why why does God allow certain things, allow he say children to be molested, and he drowned the whole. He was talking about Noah's Ark. Why did he drown the whole city of people? I think he was asking questions like that in the video, and then of course people in the comment section were sounding off, and I tried to give when I comment on the video, I tried to give my best explanation to that I possibly could. Um, but it's hard to get, it's hard to get through. I tried to give the best explanation that I possibly could in the comment section. But when it comes to atheists, it's hard to convince them of anything. It's hard to convince atheists of anything. It's hard to convince them. I'm not trying to convince them. I'm not trying to go back and forth with the atheists, but I do like to try to make an attempt to educate them. And I said, well, God gives us, I think I said something to the effect that God gives us a freedom of will. And I said, he didn't drown everybody. He was talking about Noah's Ark. He didn't drown everybody. He kept Noah and his family alive. That's what he told Noah to build the ark. So he didn't drown everybody. He drowned everybody and kept them alive. I guess they were the only, maybe they were the only people in that city that was living right. I don't know. I know it's not funny, but everybody else wasn't living right. Maybe they were the only ones that was living right. He told Noah to build the ark and told him to put male and female of all the animals and his family in there and seal it up. So he didn't kill every living being with the flood. He kept Noah and his family alive, and the animals, a lot of the animals. Maybe everybody else wasn't living right. Have y'all ever thought about that? And God said, I'm gonna go on and clean the slate, and we can start over. I don't know. So he was asking that, and he was saying, well, why? Basically the question that a lot of people ask, and it's a fair question to ask. Why does God allow suffering? People always ask that question, and it's a common question. And then atheists use that as a reason to not believe in God. They use that as a reason. Why does God allow all these things? Terrible things happening to children and all this kind of stuff. Well, first of all, God, he allow it, but he doesn't. But they're blaming God for that. They're blaming God for those things. No, people blame God for stuff that man do. That's what people get it twisted. They blame God for stuff that man do. One thing that God gave us, and actually it's a gift, he gave us freedom of will. Did you know that freedom of will is a gift? He gave that to us. He gave us the gift of freedom of will. He gave us the gift to choose. He could have made us all like robots and just make us do whatever he wanted us to do. But he didn't, because he wanted us to love him because we want to. God wants us to love him because willingly because we want to love him. Not because we're being made to love him. So that's why he didn't do that. That's why he gave us freedom of will. That's why he gave that to us. Because he wanted to give us the right and the option to choose, to make a choice. And when people are doing these terrible things, it's freedom of will. Some people take that freedom of will and do wrong things and do the wrong things. Some people take the freedom of will and make the right choices for the most part. Some people take that freedom of will and they go out and kill folk or unalive people, do terrible things to people, do horrible things to children. They take it and do it, the freedom of will, and they abuse it. And they take that freedom of will and choice to do the wrong things. God didn't tell them to do that. But you notice how they always blame God for everything, but they never blame the devil. You notice that? They blame God for everything, but they don't blame Satan. You notice how they never say nothing about the devil. And they say they don't believe in God, but do you believe in the devil? See, they never blame the devil. They always blaming God. And sometimes it's not the devil either. Sometimes people are just evil. Because I'm a firm believer in personal responsibility. Sometimes it is. I mean, well, it's not a God if you're doing something out here, unaliving folk, raping folk, or whatever, raping. Oh, I'm sick of changing my wording for YouTube. Trying to make a point here. Then it's not a God, and if it's not a God, it's a Satan. So you are in a sense doing the work of Satan, because you're not doing the work of God. You're doing the work of Satan. You're on his side of the fence when you're doing stuff like that. But God, he allow it, certain things, but he's not causing it. It's people, human beings that are doing these terrible, horrific stuff. God didn't tell them to do that. So that's where people get it twisted. I just tired of people blaming God for stuff. And I guess, well, he can stop it. Well, it's the reason why he doesn't stop it. I'm not saying I know I have all the answers, because I don't. But God will deal with those people accordingly. The Bible says you reap what you sow. In the world, they call it karma. So whatever you do is going to come back to you. God going to deal with them people if they're doing wicked things. He going to deal with that person. There were several accounts in the Bible, many accounts in the Bible where people did horrible things, terrible things, and God dealt with them. And it told you how he dealt with those people. Like Sodom and Gomorrah. There's a lot of accounts in the Bible where people were doing terrible things. And God dealt with them accordingly. So those people are not getting away with it. You think they're doing things and they're getting... Sometimes I had a tendency to think that way too, but they're not getting away with it. Even if they escape man's justice, they're not going to escape God's justice. Because it's already been written. You're going to reap what you sow. So whatever you do, it's going to come back to you. Yeah, initially he may allow it to happen. But he is going to deal with that person that did that. That person is going to be dealt with. It's going to come back around to him one way or the other. So I just tired of people blaming God. And they don't never blame the devil. They always blame God for everything. But God gave us freedom of will. Some people take that freedom of will and do the wrong thing and do bad things. Some people take it and do what is right and do good things, sow good seed. That's the difference. But it's all about the choices that He gonna let you make your choices. It's all according to the choices that we make. He gonna let you make your choices, but they're gonna be consequences to them choices that you make. Even if it's not something that's particularly bad. Because just recently, I'm not going to go into any detail. I made a decision, being the empath that I am, because I am an empath. If I didn't tell you that before, I'm telling you now. And sometimes I have a hard time saying no. Because I'm an empath, I have a very difficult time saying no sometimes. And it bites me in the butt every time. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing that you're doing, making a bad, but in your mind, in my mind, I'm thinking at the time, because I'm an empath, that I'm making a good choice. But then God shows me on down the road, this was not a good decision for you to make. I initially think it's a right decision. And I guess that's the importance of praying. We have to pray, and before we make decisions, we have to pray about it and ask God what He wants us to do. And if people say follow your heart, sometimes it ain't good to follow your heart, because you follow your heart, you wind up making the wrong decision. And I made the wrong decision in that situation, and I had to suffer the consequences. I'm not going into details, but I had to suffer the consequences of that decision that I made, and it was rough. It was rough. But so that's what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It can be what may appear to you as a good decision, but then on down the line, God will show you that wasn't the right decision for you to make. So He gonna let you make your choices. In that case, He let me go on and make my decision. But then as time went on, He showed me, well, this wasn't the right decision for you to make. And I see now. So what you might perceive as the right decision may not be the right decision. Okay? So He gonna let you make your decision, but you're gonna find out sooner or later. Okay? You're gonna wind up suffering the consequences to that decision. Because I'll make decisions, and then I wind up suffering the consequences of that decision that I made. I got to learn how to say no, you know. And I have a very difficult time with that, you know. And it has bitten me in the butt many times. And I've sacrificed, I put my things, what I got going on the line. You know? So that's what I'm saying. He gonna let you make your decision, but you're gonna suffer the consequences for that decision you made. Okay? So that's what God does. He gives us a freedom of will, and He let us make those decisions. But then you're going to suffer the consequences for that decision too. And if you do something bad, if it's a situation to where you do something terrible, then yeah, you're going to suffer the consequences for that. Baby, that's going to come back around to you. It's going to come back around. But that's what it is. It's freedom of will. People are making bad decisions. They're abusing that freedom of will, that gift that God gave us, the freedom of will. They're abusing that. And they're making the choice to do the wrong thing. And to hurt people. And to unalive people. And to steal. They're making the decision to do all the wrong things. But some people take that freedom of will and they make the right decisions. When people take that freedom of will and make the right decisions, then people benefit from that. People get blessed from that. And in turn, God will bless you. That's how that works. So God's justice is served. Don't never think, and that goes with, we should now say we should never think that justice is not being served because somebody's doing something wrong and they're getting away with it. Because justice is going to be served. You trust and believe. Just God will make sure that he deals with that person. He makes sure that that justice is going to be served. It's going to come back around. Okay. Now, I don't want that atheist talk in my comment section. I don't want no atheist talk in my comment section, but yeah, but that's my take on it. When people say that, try to accuse God of making all these terrible things happen. It's the freedom of will. People are making the choices to make the wrong decisions. All right, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Be blessed.